Jolly Roger. It's your money that we want, and your money we shall have.
I try to be as nice and politic and as understanding as I can be about people who supported Leave during the referendum and all the horrible shit that has happened since that doesn't seem to have dissuaded them, because I understand some of the worries that people have. I even share some of the worries that people have. I just think they're wrong, or they don't understand, or they've been lied to. It doesn't make you stupid. But things just continue to get worse and worse, and the fact that people are still supporting it in the light of this makes it very hard for me to be understanding and nice about it. And what's got my blood boiling enough to do another whole video on it is that the electoral irregularities, the rule breaking, the law breaking when it came to the way in which Leave conducted the referendum, it was exposed, they were fined, the fines are basically a pittance, and then it was referred to the police. And the police have been sitting on this and not investigating for months, citing political sensitivities. Perhaps, like me, you were angered and upset when the grooming gangs scandals hit, and it turned out that these people were getting away with it in part because the police forces were worried about political correctness, and that investigations could be seen as attacks on Muslims or brown people or whatever, and as a result of their reticence, many more young people were subjected to sexual torture, essentially, for years, because they just wouldn't investigate properly. This is no different. You could argue that it's worse, because in the case of the grooming gangs, a few thousand girls were horribly treated by these gangs over a short spate of years, whereas this is going to fuck the entire country for decades. So the argument's there to be made that this is worse. Sadly, electoral irregularities are nothing new for the United Kingdom. In the last election, or the election before last, I'm not quite sure which, but there were all kinds of financing irregularities when it came to Conservative MPs. This should have resulted in all of those elections being overturned and special by-elections being held in all of those seats, but as I recall, that's only happened in one seat. But still, that is what the normal situation should be, that the result of the election is nullified and the whole thing is rerun. That hasn't happened in the case of a lot of the Conservative political scandals, possibly due to pressure from the ruling party. And now we have the referendum result corrupted in various ways by various forms of malpractice and illegality, and it's just being quietly ignored, apparently again under pressure from the ruling party and the ruling government, and also because they're worried that such investigations might open us up to civil disruption of some kind, perhaps rioting, maybe, by pro-Leave people. I don't think that's especially likely, but I could be proven wrong. But the point is that something wrong has occurred, and in any normal circumstance, the referendum would be nullified and rerun. There's no real question over the illegality. Some people can make a case that there's illegality on both sides, but that's just further argument for rerunning a fair referendum, especially now that everyone knows how much of a shit show it all is. Well, it's not happening. And if you're outraged at paedophile gangs not being brought to justice because of political concerns, then you should be just as outraged over this not being investigated over political concerns. And yet, silence. People seem to be fine with corruption so long as it gets them the result that they want. And most people, unfortunately, are politically illiterate, both in terms of terminology and function and history. So here we are, with an illegitimate, illegal vote. And yet the government's pressing on. This should be a huge national scandal, and yet there's almost nothing. I try to get to a point of objectivity and distance and fairness on this channel and in my commentary so much as is possible. But this is personal to me for a number of reasons. My partner is an immigrant, not from Europe, but still an immigrant. And the crackdown on non-EU migration had us in a state of fear for months while it was completely unclear what kind of status she had or would have moving forward. And that was pointless. I've got friends who are European couples between different countries. Their status is up in the air. They don't know where they're going to be. You've essentially trapped people like me here with you, even if we did want to leave to retain our European citizenship. When the rules change, we don't know what our status is going to be. We don't know if we could afford it. I'd love to live in a more socially conscious and progressive in the proper sense of the word country. Made that difficult or impossible. Families are going to be split up. Couples are going to be split up. The economy is going to take a nosedive. Nobody really expects anything other than that to happen now. A lot of the people who backed Brexit, the big financiers and so on, they've moved everything abroad already or are in the process of doing so. We've got the M6, I think, being turned into a parking lot for trucks in case of a no-deal Brexit, and this going behind the local MP's back, even though he's part of the ruling party. There is no upside to this at all. There is no gain. Everything that you claim is a gain is smoke and mirrors. Sovereignty, which we never lost. Immigration, which we always had control over. There are no sunlit uplands. Surely that's beginning to sink in by now. It's all smoke and mirrors, it's all bollocks, and it's going to affect real people terribly, horribly. It's going to affect everyone horribly. Especially, ironically, the people that voted in the majority for it. They're going to be amongst the hardest hit. I understand, theoretically, why people voted for Leave. In a lot of senses, it's the same kind of reflexive ugh towards the ruling class that gave us Trump. But it doesn't mean it's a smart move. It doesn't mean it's the right move. It doesn't mean you weren't lied to. It doesn't mean that people didn't cheat. It doesn't mean that the referendum was rife with illegality and should be overturned. Just because I understand doesn't mean that I have to agree. And it's virtually impossible for me to remain objective on this because I have to live with and see directly the harm that you have caused. So I can struggle to be objective and nice, but I'm really fucking angry with you and your short-sightedness and your gullibility and your willingness to tolerate illegality and lies so long as it gets you the result that you want. Postmortem Studios sells a wide variety of stock art, well over 500 pieces, many of them by RPG industry veteran Brad McDevitt. These are available for you to use in your personal or professional projects, whether stories or games or anything else. Check us out at rpgnow.com.
The police bring in reinforcements.
There was justice there, no poverty, and no violent crime. The children never cried.
I can make it happen. I can get you anything you want. You just have to talk to me. Talk to me. Talk to me. Talk to me. I'm your priest. I'm your shrink. I'm your main connection to the switchboard of souls. I'm the magic man. The Santa Claus of the subconscious. You say it. You even think it. You can have it.